But first up is the really despicable abuse of power that we witnessed on the Hill this week, namely specifically the public hearing before the House Government Reform and Oversight Committee involving Michael Cohen, who used to be the personal attorney for President Trump. Now, you may remember the Cohen has pled guilty to various crimes, including lying to Congress. So the idea that he would be brought in as a credible witness concerning Mr. Trump is quite laughable. But most concerning is that Mr. Cohen is President Trump's attorney, or was his attorney. And as a result of that, Mr. Trump has certain rights vis-a-vis Mr. Cohen, meaning he has an attorney-client privilege relationship. It survives his being fired. It survives Cohen being disbarred. I think this week it was announced he was being disbarred. And Cohen doesn't have a right to go and talk about communications he had with his client, even if Congress really wants it. So in many ways, you had an abuse of President Trump take place this week, because you had this public hearing expose his attorney-client privileges. And in addition to that, Mr. Cohen presented information to Congress, written documents that were obviously given to him in the context of his attorney-client relationship and were confidential and privileged. And yet he turned those over to Congress. Now, Mr. Cohen's a criminal, and evidently the rules of professional conduct as it relates to attorneys he doesn't care about. But it seems to me that Congress ought to care about that. It seems to me that the Department of Justice and the Mueller operation and the Southern District of New York, who are supposedly working with Mr. Cohen, they ought to care about that. But in the case of Congress, and specifically the House Democrats, they happily collaborated and colluded with Mr. Cohen to violate Mr. Trump's rights. As far as I could tell, if the Congress authorized an illegal raid on President Trump's offices and took his documents and stole them, practically speaking, that's the equivalent of what happened on the Hill in terms of getting these documents illicitly from Mr. Cohen. And the idea that you would have a hearing, the sole witness of which would provide testimony that inevitably and surely violated Mr. Trump's core protections as a client in an attorney-client relationship, to me just shows you the contemptible levels that the House Democrats are willing to fall to, or crawl to, or however you want to call it, to target President Trump. And again, this is part of a long series of steps by partisans. Obviously in the House you've got the Democratic Party, but partisans at the Clinton campaign, the Democratic National Committee, deep staters within the Justice Department and FBI, and the Obama administration to abuse the law, break the rules, to spy on target and as candidate Trump, and then try to put in jail or turn out of office President Trump. And the rules don't matter to them. So this is in many ways all part of the piece, these Cohen hearings. Now, substantively, what did we learn from the Cohen hearings? Not much. Mr. Cohen accused Mr. Trump without any credible evidence of committing crimes, and I'm not going to give Cohen's allegations the time of day in that regard. He didn't advance the ball any direction in terms of highlighting any criminal acts by President Trump. You know, it's pretty clear that President Trump's decision, if indeed he made the decision, to compensate this woman, Stormy Daniels, for a non-disclosure agreement was entirely appropriate in terms of any funding that took place, any payments that took place. It was a legal non-disclosure agreement. And Mr. Cohen's alleging it was illegal. It wasn't illegal. I mean, the idea that you spend money on a non-disclosure agreement and that because it doesn't come out of your campaign, it's illegal, I mean, that's just silly talk. And to hear lawyers talk about it, it's dishonest. And because the inverse of that is that paying Stormy Daniels has to be a campaign expense. And you can imagine that if President Trump, or then candidate Trump, had authorized the payment of non-disclosure agreement related funds to Stormy Daniels or anyone else, they would be, the left would be crawling up the walls screaming about illegal campaign finance expenditures. So Mr. Trump is damned if he does, damned if he doesn't in this regard. And so Mr. Cohen's comments and allegations there, and just his legal analysis doesn't hold much value for people who understand what the law is, and people, even if you don't understand what the law is, what common sense tells you. And of course, Mr. Cohen is represented by who? Lanny Davis. Now, Lanny Davis is a longtime Clinton associate. He worked for the Clinton camp during the Clinton administration. He worked in the Clinton White House. He was a special lawyer in the Clinton White House that handled the corruption scandals for Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. They were subject to all sorts of scrutiny because of illegal foreign fundraising, as alleged. They were getting money from the Chinese and a whole list of other foreign nationals. The allegations were they were opening up the White House and inviting donors in and selling access to the White House in exchange for campaign donations. So there was a Justice Department investigation, congressional investigations into that campaign fundraising scandal. And Lanny Davis was the point man on that. He would provide information to the media, leak information to the media, and try to shoot down any suggestions of improprieties by the Clinton gang at that time. And he's been closely associated with Hillary Clinton ever since. And sure enough, Judicial Watch had covered emails in our Judicial Watch Clinton email litigation showing communications from Lanny Davis to Hillary Clinton. These are emails that Hillary Clinton didn't want anyone to see, by the way. And I highlighted the emails in a press release, excuse me, not in a press release, but in an op-ed we wrote for foxnews.com. I wrote the press release highlighting that Mrs. Clinton is kind of looming large over these hearings. You have Lanny Davis, one of Hillary Clinton's closest associates, set up this hearing on behalf of Mr. Cohen. It became pretty clear that they concluded together. They were talking to Elijah Cummings, who's the Democrat running the committee. The two so-called private hearings, it looks like they coordinated there. And so Clinton world is setting up this whole process. As I've jokingly said, Hillary Clinton may as well have gavelled the hearings into session, given the involvement of her front people like Lanny Davis. And this is how close Lanny Davis is to Hillary Clinton. The email, I forgot my glasses, and the print here is small, so forgive me here. So this is an October 20th, 2010 email. Mr. Davis wrote Hillary Clinton saying, "Thank you, H, for who you are and what you do." And it was followed by an exchange with another, was followed with another email, with a P.S. I swear you look younger and better every time I see you. Good night, dear Hillary, Lanny. Now, look, it's pretty clear they're friends, and Lanny loves Hillary Clinton. And he's representing Michael Cohen. So I tell you what, you have this abuse of Mr. Trump by Mr. Cohen under the guidance of Hillary Clinton's friend, Lanny Davis. You have the abuse of President Trump under the Justice Department and the DOJ in allegiance with the Fusion GPS gang, Hillary Clinton's DNC, and campaign finance lawyers. You have abuse after abuse directed at Donald Trump by operatives of Hillary Clinton. And we're not allowed to talk about Hillary Clinton's misconduct as she continues, both directly and indirectly, to try to overthrow the president through folks like Lanny Davis. But we're not allowed to talk about Hillary Clinton. I just think it's very interesting. The left is going around across America tearing down statues of 19th century politicians, but we're not allowed to ask questions about what Hillary Clinton did 2 years ago. Well, I tell you, Judicial Watch is going to continue to ask questions.